We have one audience. Where you sit right here.
Okay,
Do you want to sit in your, you can sit in that if you want to.
I will. Yeah, it's easier. Yeah.
I'll move this out of the way.
Yeah.
And you can face, you can twirl around.
Yeah, I can. I'm used to it.
Oh gosh, I'm so unsteady on my feet today. Ah, feels good to sit. I'm so afraid of falling because so many people here fall because they're off balance.
No. It happens quick.
Yeah,
It does.
and I'm so concerned about that I walk very carefully.
Yeah.
Comes one, here comes
Right,
two.
that helps.
Huh? That's why.
Yeah.
You know, people told me that I walk funny. And one person loaned me her walker. And see, here come three people. And then I inherited a walker that belongs to one of my friends, Joanne Sequist. So I'm asking, I asked you to come early because I wanted to warn you that I can't read my notes. And it's typical of me.
You don't have glasses?
No, I scribble and I can't, and I put down a word thinking I'll remember what it was for. And I forget that I'm
But you
93.
don't have glasses?
No, I have cataract surgery, so they put in lenses.
Yeah, but if it doesn't work.
No, it isn't that I can't see it. It's that I can't read my notes. They don't make sense.
Okay.
I read, well, for example, I have, for you, I have Germany, and that's all I have. A naval officer, was that your husband?
No,
Your father? Oh gosh, I'm glad you have those. People love.
Well, I can't take it off. You should see my house right now. It's like 4 hours, doing all the work, pictures ripped out. And
Yeah, well, you can have the whole table because Helen here doesn't have any. In fact, you could put them out now.
let's see, the enemy is, legal officer, there's one right there.
And that's your mother and
My
father?
mother and my dad.
Oh, wow.
in this office, so,
Oh, that's the only one. Okay. People will want to see it, but
well, no, we can't.
let's start with you.
Doesn't make any sense.
And be sure you hold the mic up like that.
Okay.
She has a new voice. She has a new voice. She lost her voice and she found it.
They found it. I didn't find it.
Yeah.
Kate, you're all set up. It's set up on Zoom and everything.
Pardon
Good
me?
to go. It's all set up
Okay.
on Zoom and everything.
Okay. Well, we'll wait until 3
Yeah, you're
because
good.
we hope there will be more in the audience.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you better stay.
Well, I'm gonna go out to the team members' lunch. They're giving us free lunch right now.
Oh,
so
that's right.
I'm gonna go get me some
Oh,
food.
wait, let's see, this-
There's something out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You can serve it.
Oh, thank you. But you're all set
I
up.
might have liked to have seen the people who work here too, and now they're scheduled this at the same time. This place is so mixed up, it's not even funny.
Well, no, they scheduled the staff,
Yeah.
but they don't usually come anyway.
Yeah.
Unless
I
I
know,
have,
but some of these people that might be here would rather go talk to the staff.
they can't, they're not invited.
It's a private thank you. to
Yeah.
Staff, and they closed off that long hallway.
Yeah.
Where the grove is.
Yeah, it's different, separate.
Yeah. It's tempting to go, and you probably could go and wave and say thank you, but
I could read that way.
You just Brad, say thank you to them, anybody else?
well, I do it all the time. And that's another thing. I don't know where the complimentary notes go anymore.
You know, we used to have a place.
It used to be on Cubicle, but it isn't there anymore.
You kind of, get Bradley and say, you know, we need to
Yeah,
do that. We
yeah.
want to do that. We have no place to do it.
There used to be a box up in front.
Yeah, I remember that.
What we're talking about is you can compliment staff, especially when you have an encounter with them, like I've had many. I've done it many times. And say this was really like Sangita I did, and she saw it, and she came up to my unit to thank me. She said, "You have no idea what this means."
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think something they bring home to their spouse. And
Yeah.
say, you know,
And it gives anybody compliment, gives you encouragement. I do it to the dining staff. Of course, I've interviewed them too, but I do those cards at the front desk. You write, not people write complaints, but they should write compliments too.
Yeah, and we had one lady here that came, and she was a little reluctant, but she came. But she said, if so-and-so goes, I will go. You remember Kelly?
Oh,
And she had just lost her husband.
I can't remember. But many of them don't want to do it. And then when they come, they're so grateful that they came because people thank them. And so that's third Thursday. And this is second Tuesday. Yeah.
How long has this been going on for? I've never seen it.
Well, it's been going on since the second year I was here.
I've never seen anything written up for it.
Yeah, it's written up every time.
It's in the,
It's called, they abbreviated to GTKY, getting to know you. Yeah, I'm glad you asked because we need an audience, huh?
So I am now.
Pat, no throwing things. See, they'll straggle in. 5 more minutes.
Well, it wasn't.
That'll be yours.
But,
Yeah, they did. Usually I have to call the last minute. Pat, don't throw anything. No tomato throwing or anything like that.
Oh, rotten eggs. I know what that was, what I thought getting to know you, that they were new people.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, we're not new people.
well, a lot of new people say no. That's my fault. I'm the one who started this. But you've never been interviewed and you were new at one time.
well, yeah, the last ones you were new.
Yeah.
A lot newer than I am.
And then on Thursday, I'm interviewing, I hope, the 2 salon people, the hairdressing salon people. And then I hope the month after that will be the 2 in charge of activities. I can't hear you.
Yeah, but they're talking too.
I'm just saying that.
What are you up to these days? Hi, Rose. The load off your feet? Probably, well,
Come on in. You're welcome. It's been sort of a mix-up, I think, this time. I don't know why.
yeah, it's a real mix up. I got that right. And before they had my name in there, I would be the name of the interview.
Well, I'm the one who canceled that because I got COVID.
Yeah. And they had my name in there this time.
I will. It was in there today. I got it. Well, I got it. In fact, I got 2 of them. Did you know I got canceled because I had COVID? Yeah.
Where, on Covino?
The what?
On Covino, or where did you see it?
I saw it on Cubico and where else? I saw it in 2 places.
Now I feel unprepared because I still didn't understand it.
Okay, well, we're here and maybe we'll have a very limited audience, but they'll be on Zoom. It's 59.
How can you get Zoom when you're not hooked up for it?
It's hooked up. See the camera up there?
But no people outside of it.
You have to have a number to.
They see in their rooms, in their units, they see
I'm
it.
talking about a relative.
Oh, they don't come. If some of them come, but they don't see it on Zoom. No, it's just here, and it's really just for people here. You know, someone, who was it, brought all his relatives.
I didn't get that part.
It was one of the staff, and it was perfect. I asked them questions about him too. Well, there's no reason for us to be nervous, is there?
Because I didn't come prepared.
Well,
I didn't bring anything.
you didn't need to bring anything. You just need to talk.
I almost didn't either because I didn't care so much. My photo albums to pieces. And I'm not sure, I can remember where I took them. Well, I took them from now,
Oh,
from my book.
did a lot of memories come back?
Oh, yeah, well, I don't even know through all of it. Some specific ones. I mean, I could have made a better presentation and took a paper and written what the picture was, but I figured I'd do all that and they'll cancel it, so you can't trust what goes on here. You cancel it at a moment's notice. This is canceled, that's canceled.
See, now you have some faces to look at.
Good.
We were hoping we'd have some faces to look at, and we do. Well, bring it up. That's the kind of thing I hope you'll do. Because I'll say, what kind of work did you do?
Yeah.
And same thing with you. Who, it was you with the raspberry farm? Didn't you work on it?
I worked on it during the summer.
Yeah.
Now I'm a teenager.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of thing that they'll like to hear. See, it's filling up. See, not exactly full, but
You're gonna start with Helen?
no, I'm gonna start with you.
Got more stuff.
I'm going alphabetically. Hello, everybody. Wave your hand and yell if you can't hear us. And don't walk out, though. Today we have the pleasure of hearing from 2 Helens, Helen Cochrum and Helen Janeczek. And Helen here just got her voice back. If you remember, she thought she was going to get out of it because she didn't have a voice, but it didn't work. So, and then we'll have questions after. And as I said, I'm happy that you came, and also to all of you who are on Zoom, welcome. Okay, Helen, and hold it up close. Yeah. Tell us where you came from, where were you born, and what brought you here?
Okay, I was born in Kiel, Germany. My dad was a German naval officer. And my mother was an American, however, although her parents and all the parents before that were German. But my grandfather immigrated to the United States in 1901, I think, and moved to Seattle. And then, let's see, yeah.
So how much time did you spend in Germany?
Well, I lived there all during the war until I was about 9 years old. Yeah, and then we moved to Seattle, Washington, because that's where my grandparents were living again after going back to Germany. And then they went back to the States and back to Seattle. And my mother's sister and her 2 sisters and 2 brothers also moved to Seattle, and so did my mother.
What, do you want to talk at all about what it was like living in Germany during the war? Or do you remember much? Or
Well, I don't remember that much during the war. Well, I do, except for all the air raids that seemed to happen every day, which they were not every day, but the sirens would go off, and that was our signal to go down to the basement of our fourplex where we lived. I have a picture of the fourplex where we lived, and there was a basement down there that was sealed off against germ warfare. So if they tried putting any gas to kill us, part of the population, they wouldn't have gotten us because it was all sealed off. And then we waited for the all clear sign, and then we came up, and you look at the sky, was completely red, looking towards the city because of all the fires, the bombs that fell, lit things on fire. And one time everything shook so bad that we came up, and mother had her flour and sugar in different bins, and then they all came out, and we had them all over the kitchen floor, flour and sugar, and I don't know what all else mixed. And that was the worst thing I can remember as far as that. And I know we had a bomb fall someplace not too far from us, but they're just small bombs compared to what they're doing these days. But we definitely saw a crater of where a bomb fell. But our place was never caught on fire. We were actually in the suburbs, living in Navy housing.
did you lose any relatives or friends?
My mother lost her only cousin's husband was shot at and killed. And my brother was shot at too by a dive bomber, but somebody pulled him back into the barn, and so he wasn't killed. And that's all people that died that I know of. I mean, they were close to me anyway. And some people committed suicide upstairs in one of the units. Was I think he was something to do in the service as well. And then he killed himself at the end. And that's.
And you heard about that when you were how old?
About 9 years old.
Yeah, 9 years
Mhm.
old. A memory that probably has stayed with you.
Well, not really, no. The only thing that did stay with me was the red sky whenever we came up. And it seemed like every other night we were woken up in the middle of the night and had to put our sweats on and go down to the basement so that in case the place burned down, that they couldn't reach us. It wouldn't reach us. But what would we come up to if the place burned? And it would be nothing left, so it doesn't really matter that much whether they get you with gas or fire bombs.
An example of how people don't make war. It's the governments, and we're still having them.
Yeah.
What about your education? Where were you educated?
Well, I started school in Hamburg because we had to flee Berlin. We couldn't stay there because the Russians were coming in from the other end. And my father said to mother, "You have to take the children and go." So imagine leaving, even where you live here, leaving everything behind. And luckily, mother took some picture albums that she had done for us kids, and I got a couple pictures here that are of the place where we used to live, but we had to abandon that place and just walk away. And this picture is actually a newer one. The building is still there. All the other people are owning it now. I don't know anything about that. But the Russians came and ransacked everything, according to relatives, older relatives that still lived in Berlin. They came in and just devastated everything. And our other relatives were hearing screams of the women all over the city because of the rapes going on. So people were screaming. And my mother would have, I don't know what they would have done to her. They would have caught her.
What, how old were you when you came over here?
10,
10, okay, so you were 9 when all this happened.
8 or 9, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what about, what was school like? What was the difference from there and here?
Well, we started school in Berlin, but then Hitler closed all the schools. All the schools got closed. So my mother and dad got a private tutor for us. So we had to go to this lady's attic room and get some education. But then after we fled, we ended up near Hamburg in a suburb, and that's where I started school. And the first grade.
And then how old were you? I may be repeating, but my brain doesn't work that well. How old were you when you came to school over here?
Well, I was 10 when I came to the States, and then I started school here. I didn't know any English. Mother, for heaven's sakes, couldn't advertise the fact that she was an American, for one thing, because they were the enemy. Yeah. So as soon as we knew we were coming here, she started teaching us a little English. But when I came here, I didn't know very little English. So we had to start school. I had to start school, and I was 10 years old. I had to start school here in the first grade. But as luck would have it, I had a first cousin who lived in Neckarswego, Oregon. And my aunt and uncle said, well, why don't you come and live with us for half the year, and you can go to school with Norma and she can help you. Now, I was going to bring a picture, but a picture appeared in an article was written in the Oregonian about the Yankee girl that's teaching her cousin from Germany English. And I had this big bow on my head. And anyway, so I started there in Germany. And then when I came over here, I had to learn English so then I could continue. And I was in the first grade for several weeks. And then they decided I could go. I went to the second grade 1 week, the third grade 1 week. And I think the fourth grade, I came back to Seattle because there I had another cousin that spoke German. And so she could help me out. But my brothers had a harder time. My brother often came home in tears because the teacher couldn't understand him, and vice versa. So I was lucky that I had cousins in both instances.
Do you speak German now?
I do.
Because you don't have an accent.
No, well, no. People
Okay.
from North Germany are not as likely to have an accent.
I think it's amazing that you still speak 2 languages so fluently.
Well, that's because I insisted on pursuing it myself in my adult life. I wanted to keep my language. So I often went back, still have 2 cousins in Berlin, and often went back and took trips to different parts of Germany, and so that I could speak all the time. And my cousins at the time were behind the Iron Curtain when I went back the first time. So I only could meet one of them because the government would only let my aunt take one of the 3 children to the West to meet me. The rest couldn't leave. They had to stay behind. So I didn't get to meet them until much later.
When's the last time you were in Germany?
Well, now probably 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay, well, you mentioned your brothers. Tell us about your siblings.
Yeah, I have two brothers. One is 2 years younger than I am, and the other one's about 5 years younger than I am.
And where are they?
One is in suburb of Sacramento, and my other brother is in Seattle.
So you see them occasionally.
Well, very, very occasionally, and
Yeah.
because I won't drive up to Sacramento anymore. The traffic is too impossible. And to try to take a bus up there, I could do it and get off in Roseville and have my brother pick me up, but it hardly seems to work that way. The last time I drove up there on Highway 80, and I will never do it again. Never,
Well,
never.
What kind of work have you ever done from the very beginning and to adult, when you were an adult?
Well, I was trying to think when I first went to out of high school. So my main goal was to get back to visit Germany. So we didn't have any money. So I didn't have any money. I had to go to work. So I went to work in a real estate office, not as an agent, but as an office assistant. And then I got a job at the county clerk's office, the county of King County, Washington, because my friend, well, my dad was working there for one thing, but he was working for the assessor's office. And then I got a job working in the assessor's office too, through connections with someone else. And then I went to work for, well, first the real estate company. And then I went to the county clerk's office. And then we had a family friend that owned a travel agency. And she had gotten married, and she and her husband went to Florida on their honeymoon, and somebody stole them blind. Stole all their money. And so then she called me up. She knew I wanted to work for her before. And finally she called me up and says, "What, do you want to work for me?" And I said, "Well, I still don't have any experience." "Well, I'll send you to school." So she sent me to a United Airlines ticketing and reservation school in San Francisco. And was in a hotel in San Mateo. So I worked for her for a while. I had to take a cut in pay because the county was paying me more than the travel agency was going to be paying me, but I wanted to do it so I could go on trips, because you got 75% off on air tickets we got. Most hotels would comp me. And I went on a tour of Germany because the lady who owned the travel agency was German, and she wanted me to be able to talk to the German clients that she had. And then she was invited to a familiarization trip to Germany with Lufthansa and the German tourist office. And so she talked to Lufthansa and the tourist office and said, could I go in her place? So that was a wonderful, I got familiar with a lot of Germany that I never knew anything about, and always still a chance to speak the language again too.
What kind, were you involved in, what did you do for fun, for hobbies, for sports?
Oh, skiing was my sport.
Oh,
Once I came here, I was probably about 19 or 20 when I started skiing. My brother started skiing before me, and then he got me into skiing. We joined the ski patrol, learned first aid so that we could get our certificate to be a ski patrolman. And then we got to ski free, see, because we didn't have any money. And the newspapers in Seattle, the Post-Intelligencer and the Times, combined to give a free ski school to high school students. And all we had to do was pay for the bus trip and take our lunch. So that's how I got started skiing. Yeah, and later on, when I was already living in California, I went on ski trips too with people from the real estate office that I went to work for up there.
so you must have been pretty good, but
Well, I've got some pictures here by going through
some pictures.
the gates. the slalom gates.
So eventually you got married and had children. You want to
Mhm.
tell us about your children? What?
I have identical twin boys that were born about 6 weeks premature. So both of them had to go in an incubator, and then they had to be force fed because they couldn't, their mouth wasn't strong enough to pull from a bottle or a nipple either one, they couldn't. So, and I was never allowed to watch the force feeding either. They closed the shade down and that was that. So I would go and see them every few days. But it was nearly a month before I got the first one home because they were both underweight, premature babies. They were both only in the 4 pounds something, and they wouldn't let them go home until they weighed 5 pounds. So then I got one of them home, and then the other one a couple of weeks later. And then they developed pyloric stenosis, so they had to be operated on again because the muscle between the stomach and the duodenum was cramped and wouldn't let the food through. So I went to the doctor, hospital. They said, "Oh, just a nervous mother. Send her home." And they kept throwing up the food. And finally, they decided that muscle cramping was causing that problem. I have a picture of in the hospital of about 3 or 4 doctors just leaning over this big crib trying to figure out what was wrong with his kids, with this boy. And they finally figured it out and just gave him an incision here in his stomach and released the muscle. And then the other child started the same thing. Well, they didn't go through all that rigmarole because they were identical. So they just took the other one and sliced his muscle open too. But after that, we had to feed them every 3 hours around the clock. My mother was visiting us, and so she would help out. And I would be on duty every night, and then my ex-husband and my mother would take turns feeding the children in the middle of the night.
And where are they now?
Well, they're right here in San Jose. Probably
And in good health?
No, they're not. Unfortunately not. My sons are they have a very awful illness, which it's not curable, and I just have to live with it. They are alcoholics, both of them severely alcoholic. And then one of them had a child who's my grandson, and he became an alcoholic too, but he's been in rehab for 3 years and he hasn't had anything to drink for way over 3 years. But unfortunately, he lives in Kentucky, so I don't get to see him very much. But it's just as well that he's not here because he can't be around his father with that drinking going on. Well, I think he'll start drinking again too. But he's actually a chef. He's got a job. He had a job here next door for about 13 months.
Next door?
Next door.
Oh, the place.
The
Okay.
restaurant. Yeah.
Okay. How did you find the terraces?
Oh, well, that was when I went into the real estate business.
Oh, I forgot. We skipped that.
Well, we hadn't even gotten there yet. When I came here, I tried to work for a travel agency, but I did for a while work for 2 travel agencies. And then I got divorced. But I had these 2 little children, so they had to be taken care of. And with the money I could make as a travel agent would barely pay for childcare. So we looked for my ex-husband. He gave us a good child support and good support for me too. But then I thought, well, I want to do something besides taking care of twin boys. And the work in the travel agency was hard and demanding. It didn't pay much. So I thought, I want to do something where the harder I work, the more money I make. And so I decided I'd go into real estate. And my dad gave me a cold shower and said, "Oh, you know, there's many real estate agents out there as are pebbles of sand on the beach." It's the kind of encouragement I got. But
And then the terraces?
Oh, no. Then
I mean, how did this fit into your real estate?
okay, because I worked mostly right over here in Rossvale Manor. And I had a client that wanted to sell her house so she could move in here. And then I got another client in Montecito that eventually moved, whose place I sold. She moved in here. So every Christmas I would visit my clients and bring them a calendar for the coming year. And I would do it deliver it personally. There wasn't any mailing it or anything. I wanted to see the clients personally. So that's how I got it here.
And who's here that were clients, or do you want to say that?
Well, there, yeah, my memory is, I have one set of clients that's
Okay.
one couple that's here. I can't think of their names right now.
That's okay.
And the other woman actually married somebody that was also living here. But this all goes years and years ago,
Uh-huh.
because I haven't been doing real estate since 2000. So that's 23 years right there.
Are you glad you made the decision to move here?
Sometimes I am, sometimes I miss the life outside, but I still follow my life outside anyway. I go to Al-Anon meetings, and I'm still in the Toastmasters Club too. Although I don't do speeches anymore because my memory is just not good enough to
Your speeches?
do speeches, but I'm still in the club, and so I can have other duties like table topics person or counter or grammarian or evaluator or things like that. I can still do, and they're doing it partly on Zoom now too, and then they do partly a hybrid meeting, because what happened was people moved that were in our club here before, and then they kept wanting to stay in our club and they couldn't come to the weekly meetings. So then they started with Zoom and then with the hybrid meetings. And I refuse to go any more of the Zoom meetings because it's no fun if you don't get to see people and talk to them and find out how they're doing and about their families and what they've been up to.
Yes, Helen's glad you are here because she said she likes to see faces when she's talking to people. huh?
That's right. Yeah. At first there wasn't anybody here. Well, I came early and I thought, oh no, I hope it's not going to be all on
She
Zoom.
thought nobody was coming. Did I leave out any? Is there anything else that jumps out that you want to tell us? It's okay if-
Well, I just wanted to let people know that I'm interested in classical music. And so whenever anybody plays the piano here,
Put it up close.
anybody plays the piano or
Do you play any?
no, I can't. I have injured fingers from a ski accident. But I love classical music. I used to have season tickets for for the San Francisco Opera. And I've taken opera tours to Europe several times with groups of people. And then most of the time at the end of the tour, I'm off to Germany. So I get a chance to see my cousins while I'm on the continent.
Okay, well, I think if people might have questions later, but that tells us a lot about who you are. So I'll give this other Helen a turn. Okay. Is that a hard act to follow?
It is a hard act to follow. Yes, definitely.
Well, let's start out with your beginning, your birth, and where you came from. To drop out or?
Oh, no, I just was here. No, I was born in
Hold it close.
Chicago. Can you hear?
No, hold it like this.
Yeah,
That's it.
I was born, okay. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, many, many years ago. And I had 3 brothers, but I only knew 2 of the brothers because one had already passed away. And my father was German. He wasn't from Germany, but his family was. And my mother was Irish. So that was quite a combination for sure. And I had a very happy home life. I was very lucky. Except my mother, God bless her, they always came to her for help, all her family. She had brothers and sisters and cousins and whatever, and they were always coming to my mother because she was very kind. And that went on for several years, and I went to Catholic school and Catholic high school. And then after that, during that time, though, I worked in a bakery, a German bakery. And that was very interesting, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. And after that, then I went on to college, and I went into the business part of it. I enjoyed making typing and closer. And I also learned the language. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, where you know that, what is it? What is it? Shorthand, that's it. I couldn't think of the word. I did a lot of shorthand, and I got really good at it. So by the time I graduated from high school and college, and I got a job at the adult probation department in Chicago. So that was very interesting, because there I was keeping all the records of these people that had problems with robbery or whatever it might be. And you had to take it down and shorthand back then, because things were not all up to modern things. So I was really good at that. I was fast and I could do it. So I learned a lot. Then in the meantime, on lunch hours, sometimes I go into the courtrooms and
Hold it close.
yeah, and also I would learn different things from that. So it was very interesting, good, all the different judges and what was going on. And of course, if you know Chicago at all, there's always a lot of snow. And that was always another problem. Just getting to work was a problem. By then, I lived in the suburbs with my family, and everyone else was moving towards the city again. But I still stayed there. And I worked there several years, and I enjoyed that a lot. And in the meantime, when I was also in high school, I learned Spanish. And I liked that a lot. Spanish was a nice language, and I learned a lot of things. So then when I finally came out of all this working with the courts and different things, I close again. Yeah, I went to we moved from Illinois to Florida. So that was a whole different story there. I mean, back then it was not the Florida we all know today. It was quite unknown and a lot of different things. But my in-laws had already moved there, and I had a brother.
They still can't hear you. You
No.
got to get it tied to you. Hold it like this, like this.
Better?
No, still F.
Like
Yeah,
this?
yeah,
Okay,
up close to your mouth,
better? No,
closer.
closer?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try that. So anyway, I moved to Florida also with my then husband. So of course, his family had already moved there because nobody wanted to be in Chicago anymore. The weather was terrible. It was just too much. We couldn't handle it anymore. And it was always so cold. I remember shoveling a lot of snow and driving cars. That was quite an experience always. And but you learn. And so then after we had moved on to Florida, my in-laws were there. I had a brother-in-law there, and guess who showed up? My two brothers. So the whole family was there by then, because nobody wanted to be up in that weather anymore. We couldn't take it. And
Now you said your in-laws. Where does the husband come in?
My husband
Yeah.
was there too.
Okay.
Oh, he was
but
there too.
How did you meet him?
Oh, I met him. I'll tell you, I met him. I was rather young. I was in my 20s. I met him at a local dance club on a Sunday night because I didn't have to go to schools that night, so, or work or whatever. So both of us liked to dance. And at that time it was rock and roll. So that was great, great music. And we still kept that up all our married years. Unfortunately, my husband passed on during that time period later on. But he worked very hard. He started his own carpet company, tile company, and traveled all over, which I got to travel too. I always wasn't working in the summer. Remember, I was working in the school system. So I was very fortunate, went to a lot of foreign countries and nice countries, and we had a good time. I learned a lot of things, and he loved it. That was his thing. He loved people and meeting people, and he had a very good personality, nice person, wonderful person, and people liked him a lot. So anyway, then we kind of moved on I had two girls by then, and they had stayed back by then. And today I have one is an engineer and the other is another type of thing in the computer industry here. And they've been here for several years now.
They live close? Where do they live?
They live real close. I have one right down the road here. And the other one's a little further over the way, but they're right here, which is fortunate for me because now, my whole family is gone, unfortunately. And I miss them terribly, but at least I have them, and I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. 2 are also engineers, and the girl, I don't know what she does, something with computers. And so they're very good, and they're good to their family. And my daughter always cooks and has us over, and this was her idea for me to come here. She didn't want me alone in Florida. So I had to get a new knee and a new hip and all those kinds of things. And she said, Mom, you can't be alone there. And I said, well, why not? Why not? I was used to being alone by then, but that doesn't work. So she brought me to this beautiful place where I live now. And it's been very good to me. I'm very happy here, and they offer everything. And it's so very good for me. And I've joined a lot of things, and I've met a lot of very nice people. And, but so on.
I don't imagine you want to demonstrate rock and roll.
Not today.
Not today.
Not
Okay.
today. But that was good. It was very good. And, but that's kind of what it all amounts to. This is how I became here, because the girls knew where to go. They checked everything out. That's what they told me. I said, okay. And, but we've had a very good life. I can't complain. We were very, very lucky. I had to help a lot with my family when they all became ill, which I'm sure everyone knows that story. And because I was the youngest, and everything fell on me, which was okay. I didn't mind that. I wanted to be there for them. And, but I did, when I worked in the city of Chicago, I forgot to tell you this part. I knew shorthand really well. And I used to do that. And I'd take down the dictation of the prisoners who had to, give what was going on. And the officers, they couldn't have time for that. So I was doing that, and that was a lot of fun. And then as I moved on and went to Florida, I went to work in a high school, and I enjoyed that a lot, because then I got to go to all the sporting events. because I like to work the sporting events. So I did football and basketball and wrestling. I did them all. And they were just wonderful. And I got to know all the kids, the students. They were a polite crowd, pretty good crowd, really, for high school. And I thought that was great. And I worked there for many years. And so then I finally retired. And I lived in my house still, but didn't really want to leave Florida. I liked it. It was nice. Only went through one hurricane. That I left for though, because that was a bad one. But I was lucky because the block next to me, they didn't have any water or any air conditioning for a good month. And it was 100 every day. So yeah, you learn a lot when you're in those hurricanes. But I left for that. I didn't stay there and came back after a while. But fortunately, I kept my air conditioning. A lot of people lost theirs and had to get new ones. So that was another issue, but you lived through it, you made it. And as these people do today, you can just watch the news and see this same thing going on. But you get strong, that's all, you get strong. And but I never thought I would come and move out this way because I thought, well, I don't know what's out there. You know, there's nothing going on because I had never been to out here. And but the girls have made it so that I know a lot of things now. And I met a lot of wonderful people here. They're all very kind, very nice people. And I've been very lucky.
Somebody told me that you had many funny stories to tell.
Funny?
Yeah,
I don't know.
well, any stories that you remember that you were known for that you want to tell us that,
Oh, well, I don't know. There's one, I guess. My husband traveled for his job. And of course, when we'd get a snowstorm, you know who was out there shoveling the snow? Because the kids, they weren't old enough to shovel. And that was quite a deal, that shoveling of snow. Because you get the snow this high and get it all straight. Well, then you had to get the car in. So because the car had to go in the garage because you couldn't leave your car out on the street. And so that was quite a deal. I was getting muscles after a while with this snow
if we
shoveling.
ever have snow here, you'd know how to.
I
Yeah.
would know, definitely. Yes, definitely. And oh, I don't know. I think just enjoying the students. I think there were a lot of funny things that were always going on, you know, and you had to kind of hold your smile back.
I can identify with that. Yeah.
Mhm. But I enjoyed it. It was all, and they were always very nice to me. I never had a problem, especially when we get to high school. High school is a whole different situation, but it was a good high school. They took care of the children. They learned, you know, had them learn different things. And I learned a lot as I was going along, especially this, I learned Spanish, I learned shorthand, I learned all kinds of things myself. And I was managing by then a lot of books, a lot of state type paperwork. I'm sure everyone has probably been familiar with that at one time in their life. There's always something going on with the state. This has the deadline, had to get that in and so on. But you just get through it and you enjoy it. And I've had a very, very, in general, a good life so far. And I think
So far, it's pretty
so
safe.
far,
Yeah.
yeah. And I keep fighting it when it's not good. I don't like it and I fight it. It's just the way I am.
It seems to me, did you two know each other well? Since
No.
you're beginning to know each other now.
Yeah, because we're here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And it seems like you have a couple of things to talk about, which is,
Well, I think also the time of years when we were growing up
Yeah.
or, you know, whatever it was with families. And that's what was going on in the world.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of that. I'm sure everyone is experienced with that. And, but it's very nice out here. When I first came out here, I came for one of the children's graduation, and it was 100 that day. And I thought, oh, this is good. And everyone was, oh no, this is terrible. I said, I'm used to this. This is no big deal. But no snow. I haven't seen snow yet, so I'm waiting for that. But yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, we did this
I-
past
I
year.
have to
Yeah.
go look.
This was years ago when the
Yeah.
kids were little.
Yeah.
and it's Had a wonderful time, because they'd never seen snow before.
No, we had snow.
Kids were out playing in the snow.
Mm.
Okay, well, listen, I think maybe people have a few questions to ask.
Sure.
And also we have Helen, Helen has a few pictures after hearing her story I think you'd like to see.
Mhm.
So first questions while you're out there. Anybody? And nothing came to you while? Okay, well then come on up and ask in person. No, you won't need the mic to answer them.
Okay. I didn't think
Yeah,
so.
we'll just end it with the mics now. So come on up. If you have some questions.
Anybody have any questions?
They'll come up and ask.
I do, because I'm German. I'm wondering, most of you have the German heritage. What has happened with cooking? What foods have you brought with you? Because that always is a memorable thing.
What foods has she brought with her?
What do you bake? Make?
Well, not anymore because I'm here now.
Oh, I know, but
But yeah, the
German.
red cabbage. Okay, sweet and sour red cabbage, not just here. They have it mostly shredded in salads, and that's about it for the United States. And then I used to make beef rouladen, they call them. Yeah, big strip of beef, and then you put salt and pepper and mayonnaise, I think, on there, and then put just a piece of onion and a piece of pickle, that's it, yeah, and then roll it up, tie it up with string. You can get the string from the butcher. I'm sure Lunardi's butcher would have that string that you could tie them up and then brown them and then bake them in the oven. Makes really a nice gravy. And my grandson is just, well, he's a sous chef now in Kentucky. And so he said, just texted me the other day, the thing that was his favorite that I used to make was the rouladen. So I'll have to have him come out and he and I'll have to make them.
Father, oh, I gotta do this. My father was German and my mother was Irish. So if my father wanted something, he did the cooking, the German cooking. He made different kind of roasts and what that? The what? Yes, yes, that, yes. And sauerkraut and all those kinds of things. And of course, that only went on maybe once a week. My mother was in charge of all the cooking, and that was the Irish cooking. And so that's how that went on most of the time. But they were both very good cooks, very good. So no one complained about anything. So, yeah.
That's really interesting.
You have a lot to talk about. I think.
Yeah.
I think of usually I started doing this because people in the audience would connect, but I didn't ever think of this. Anybody else or?
Do you have grandchildren?
Do I?
Either, yes.
Yes, 3. I have 2 boys and a girl.
Oh. They live nearby?
Well, the other than being away for college, yes, they live there in the area.
Okay, come on, up or out?
I have one grandson. Yeah, but he lives in Kentucky. So he's far away. I had him out here once already. He stayed in our hospitality suites.
Oh.
Yeah, so now he's living with a girlfriend and they both want to come out here. I said, well, I'll pay for your lodging, but not for 2 airline tickets on top of it. So they're trying to figure out, she's studying for a doctorate degree in psychology, his girlfriend in Kentucky. And I've never met her and she's never met me because she's never been out here. So.
Okay. And you fix the picture so they can see them and ask any questions.
Well, you're my twins,
Oh,
my little boys. And this is how they looked
let's put them
when
up.
they became teenagers.
Oh, is this your wedding picture?
No, this is my parents. I can't take it out or I would have done. I wanted to. My dad was a German naval officer, so I thought I would just show it to see what the enemy's naval officer looked like.
The twins. Yeah,
Yeah.
really cute.
So where are the twins? Do you have a picture of them?
Well, this is when they were in high school, teenagers.
Okay, they are blonde, aren't they?
Mhm.
Wow, very good.
Oh, yeah.
And this is you, Helen?
That's me.
Uh-huh.
That's
Wow,
fun to see.
definitely part in snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell that they're twins, yeah.
That's where we used to live. Like, it was a fourplex, two living in downstairs, 2 upstairs. And this was,
Was that in Kiel?
no, this was in Hamburg.
Oh, in Hamburg. Oh, okay.
No, during the war, my dad was stationed in Berlin.
Okay.
We saw Admiral Bennett's, yeah.
This